Love to listen in the morning. Jimmy Lakey on the radio. I got my coffee and cream. Jimmy's on the air. Wake up and start your day. Now go and tell all the neighbors, yeah. Then crank up the radio. There's infotainment, brilliance to get you on your way. Wake up and start your day with Jimmy Lakey.
Well, top of the morning to you, everybody. Happy, glorious day the Lord has made, 11th day of March, year of our Lord 2025. And look at that, drinking a big mug that I got from my friends at 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning. Product placement at its best right there. Corey Clinton and the crew, 855 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning. A beautiful mug. They handed that to me the last time they came and did my, they handed that to me my fall tune-up. I do the tune-up every year. And they handed me a couple of mugs and said, hey, you've got mugs. You've got mugs. And I have a little coffee mug. There's coffee in here. I promise you it is just coffee at this time of the morning. Now, producer Chad, he may be on the hooch right now, but me, I'm drinking straight coffee because I have a job to do, and that's to speak somewhat clearly. Good morning, everybody. Good to have you here. And if you're new to the program, welcome. We're glad to have you here. And Tuesday, the 11th day of March, year of our Lord 2025. My name is Jimmy Lakey, and I spent years in corporate radio, but I have been unleashed from the bonds of corporate radio because corporate radio has seemingly given up on local talk, and they have their national syndicated guys, which most of them aren't that good, but they have their national people, and they dump the local guys for the most part. And there's buildings now that supposedly are local, serving the community, that don't have anybody in them. That's actually, it's like a shell. It's like a shell corporation. There's nothing there except maybe a few salespeople. There's nobody on a microphone that's actually local. I keep saying this. I got to get with Brian Maloney. He's owns the Red Wave America platform and also the Media Equalizer page that we're on this morning, and talk about how the days of radio have changed so much. I mean, I've got to get to the news here. Well, we'll get to the news. We'll do daily update, but I can tell you that for years that I did radio, it's been 15 years since I had a local guy that was actually doing the traffic. Usually the traffic is somebody literally in a cubicle or at home on a microphone looking at apps and going, it looks like I-25's red. Oh, yeah. That's why they would start saying, call us in if you see a traffic accident, because there's no one local. Remember the days when you had a helicopter flying above the streets? Those days are long gone. Matter of fact, we had traffic people doing traffic from Arizona at times. And news, they cut one newscast for the entire, the last day, they cut one newscast for the entire Front Range. And so the entire 10 years that I was on the previous said station, I never heard one story in the local news behind me that said Fort Collins or Greeley. There's a few Colorado Springs, but they'll tell you about the Denver mayor. So anyway, it's just fascinating, the days of radio. So this is real. I'm real. I'm here in the building at the House of Lakey, the Lakey Entertainment Tower. So we have a section called the House of Lakey, and we have a couple of studios here in the House of Lakey area. One is for the Critical Mission podcast. That's about 50 feet that way, 60 feet down the hallway, and then this studio where we do the daily update. Good to have all of you here, though. All right, budget resolution. That's going to be the big news. The Republicans are not sure they have all the votes. I think they will to pass the continuing resolution, and that continuing resolution will basically say we have the last budget. We're going to just keep it going through October, and then Republicans say now we can do the 12 resolutions of divided up and do the budget properly. Some Republicans, like Thomas Massey, and other ones are like, when are we going to fight? We always say no more continuing resolutions until we get close to a government shutdown, and we have to say we'll fight the next time. Some Republicans are balking on that. They could only lose a handful of votes in the House before they have to have the Democrats help. So we'll see about that. We'll talk about that here more in just a moment. I've got another question of the day, not a question of the day, but something that I want to ask you is that Mark Baisley, if you're in Colorado, Mark Baisley serves in the state legislature as a state senator, I believe, and he has announced he's running for governor. He's not going to be on the program today. I just saw it this morning or last evening, but I will get Mark Baisley on the program. And it brings up a question that is Dick Wadham's a great famed political strategist, not just here in Colorado, but nationally known. He says that it's possible. He asked the question in an op-ed piece: is it possible for Colorados to win the governorship of Colorado? Can a Colorado Republican ever win? What else do we have? I've got Biden. There's a revelation that's come out, and we'll get to the story that Joe Biden might really not have known what he was doing. I'll get to the story, but the presidents have a thing called auto pen, that if they give the word, the instruction, I'm not exactly sure how it works, but they can put their signature on stuff without writing their name down. And Joe Biden signed with the auto pen so many times that some folks are speculating that maybe Joe was really should have been hospitalized like one flew over the cuckoo's nest. So we'll get to that story here this morning. All right, many of you are very blatant. Oh, we got a DJ. Remember DJ Daniels? DJ Daniel, I keep finding interviews with him. I guess he was doing quite a few interviews. I don't know if he still is. I'd love to get him on. But he's a fascinating character. DJ Daniel evidently has been out doing the news circuit, and he is threatening anybody that bullies him now because he's a Secret Service agent. And matter of fact, let me just play this. Let's start the morning off with some fun, and then we'll get into the deep talk of the continuing resolution. I'll probably play this throughout the morning. This is DJ Daniel, the young man that has been fighting cancer. He's 13 years old, cancer survivor. Not a good diagnosis for him, but he's still fighting and kicking, and the Democrats wouldn't stand up and acknowledge him. This is him on one of the news shows, and this guy, they gave the badge to the wrong dude here. You're messing with the wrong feller now. We thought Donald Trump shows up in the White House and you go, wow, new guy's in town. DJ Daniel is on the march, and this is what he has to any bullies, that if you're going to jack with him and you're going to mess with him, as we would like to say, F around and find out. You know what that means? F around and find out. So if anybody going to pick on DJ Daniel, you got to remember he got a badge and he ain't afraid to use it. And I'm going to play it right, get the right buttons here, and I'll play this thing for you. DJ Daniel, this is funny.
Because I'm a Secret Service now. I'm not, and if you touch me, you going to juvenile straight out. And I ain't got to ask your parents for nothing. I'm sending you straight to jail. Because I'm a Secret Service now. I'm not, and if you touch me, you going to juvenile straight out. And I ain't got to ask your parents for nothing. I'm sending.
I send you straight to jail. I don't know why I find that just so funny. I don't even know what the setup question was. It doesn't matter. What a classic response. You touch me, I'll send you straight to jail. I ain't got to ask your parents or nothing. F around and find out. They gave DJ Daniel a badge, and he's the enforcer on the street, and you better not get out of line. I'm going to start using that line when I meet with producer Chad or anybody. I'm going to say, you touch me, I'll send you straight to jail. And producer Chad usually says, well, I like the handcuffs. It's weird how he does that. It creeps me out when he says that. All right, good to have everybody here. All right, Republicans for years have said, we're going to fight. We're going to fight. We're going to really get them this time. And then they pass these continuing resolutions. Let me back up, give you a little education. And the education segment of the program, I let you know that a continuing resolution basically means we continue the dysfunction that has been there. Back in history, if you forgot class a couple of weeks ago, we learned that the last time that the Congress, Republicans in control, Democrats in control, doesn't matter, the last time that the Congress passed a legitimate budget bill was back in the days of Bill Clinton. And since then, it has been a series of, and what I mean by legitimate, there are about 12 sections of the budget that it's usually divided up into, and they debate each one at a time. That way, Congress people, it's not a stack of bills this big, a budget bill as big as a big city phone book or bigger. They just pass the budget resolutions, about 12 of them, and they're broken down into segments, and they debate them for a week or 2 weeks, and they go through them, and they come out of committee, and they pass 12 different budgets that becomes the budget. Well, the last time they did that was back in the days of William Jefferson Clinton. Since those days, there has been no full budget passed like that. There have been, they got one section passed and then they threw the rest of it all together, or 4 sections passed and threw the rest of it all together. But the proper way of passing a budget that we're supposed to do, Congress has been a dysfunctional bunch of yahoos, more worried about getting rich and insider trading, I think, than actually governing the great country. And that's been since the days of Bill Clinton. So since we have the phrase omnibus, where they stack it all together and they say, this is your new budget, and they pass it and push it forward. And then when that runs out, if they want to, they pass what's called a continuing resolution. And rather than rework the whole big stack, and we're lazy ass people, and we have some insider trading deals to do, and we have to go to the hair salon and get our hair fixed. So, we don't have time to work up here. We're just a bunch of dumbasses. And so they pass what's called a continuing resolution. And the continuing resolutions have been going on, and the omnibus spending bills have been going on since the days of William Jefferson Clinton. The Congress with him and Newt Gingrich passed the last proper budget in America. And so that's what's been going on. So this continuing resolution, Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, and Republicans have said, we're going to start fighting. We're going to get back to what's called proper rules or regular order. And we're going to do a proper budget. Well, the fiscal year, if you recall, ended last October, right before the election, and there was no budget passed. And it was election season. Republicans didn't want to stand and fight and shut down the government right before the election because they'd get blamed for it, maybe costing Trump the presidency. So Republicans said, okay, we will join together. We'll pass a continuing resolution and give in to the Democrats, and they can add a few things and take a few things away. But by and large, it's the same budget. And they did that right before the election last October, and they passed a continuing resolution to expire this Friday. And so what happens this Friday is what the Republicans, the leadership, Mike Johnson, is saying, let's pass this continuing resolution that will continue us through the budget year. In other words, the budget, let's just finish out this budget year, October, because what should be happening is when the president does his joint address to Congress, his State of the Union, he lays out his cause, and they start the debate of the 12 different budget items. So Mike Johnson's strategy is, listen, let's get through this year. Let's get October, and let's make sure the government's running. Let Elon Musk still do his thing. He's giving us a lot of recommendations. We now know how to structure budget differently, and let's really start the budget process properly now so that we can pass it before October. So let's just do a CR. It'll be clean CR. They're not adding nothing to it. We're not going to put any pork barrel in here. We're not going to put any special favors to build a bridge to nowhere or to get Botox surgery for certain people. We're not going to do any of that. We're just going to do a clean resolution bill. And in doing the clean resolution bill, that'll get us through, and we can do the proper budget. And some Republicans are saying, listen, we keep pushing this can down the road. We keep saying we're going to fight, and yet we keep passing the continuing resolution. Where do you stand on that? Thomas Massey out of Kentucky says, no, he's not voting for it because why should he continue the dysfunction now? And I understand that in principle, but I also understand that it takes a while to move things through the halls of Congress. And I'm willing to say, you know what? We just got started. There's still a lot of Doge research going on. They're trying to figure out. They need to stop lumping all this budget stuff together. They need to start analyzing it. So let's just keep it floating for a little bit. Let's just keep the float going. And by October, if Republicans don't get their crap together, then I think they would have hell to pay. What do you think? Are you with Thomas Massey that the GOP should pass the budget continuing resolution and avoid the shutdown? Or do you think that Massey says, no, we should debate, we should the rest of this March, April, May, June, July, August, September, 6 months, we should have a 6 month of a proper budget? Or if you pass the resolution, you're going to have a 6 months of a dysfunctional budget with the hope that you're going to have a proper. The problem becomes if you get even if you got a 6 month proper budget going on now, that was really looked at and put together, then when are you going to be putting together the next one? You're going to hit October and not have time to work on that one. And so then you're going to have to do a continuing resolution again. So I understand what the benefit of it is. It's a clean bill. And I mentioned this yesterday. This would be the first time in American history that a clean bill, meaning a spending bill that's just like it always has been, did not pass the Congress. But what do you think? There's a lot of course, Democrats are against anything that President Trump is supportive of. Democrats are against anything Republicans are supportive of. It doesn't matter what's the best for the country. But what do you think? Many of you are Republicans. Do you think that they're conservatives or backers of Donald Trump? Trump says pass the CR and then do a proper budget in October when you have time to do the full discussion and debate. That would get them back on schedule in theory. What do you say? That is our question of the day. Respond on all the platforms. Do you support your member of Congress supporting this clean bill, this clean continuing resolution? Should they keep it marching forward? And just kind of in October be the new budget that's going to have the Doge effect in it, or should they let the government shut down if they need to? Anybody else out there, my friends, let us know exactly what you think about this clean bill. Do you think Republicans should pass it? Again, there's some good Republicans. Thomas Massey is very principled when it comes to fiscal conservatism and even really more libertarianism. But do you think they should pass this bill, or should they let the government, if need be, shut down at 11:59 Eastern time on this Friday night? What say you? Everybody votes out there, all the platforms out there, wherever you're listening at, watching us. If you're on the Red Wave America page, the Media Equalizer page, if you were on the Jimmy Lakey fan page, if you're on the Twitter feed this morning, good morning, X, how are you doing? Instagram's rolling this morning. It wasn't rolling yesterday because somebody, Delilah, I can't blame Delilah on this one. I forgot to push a certain button on the Instagram feed, and we were not live on Instagram yesterday morning, so Instagram's back up today. And all you Rumblers, hello, everybody getting ready to rumble out there. Nice to have you. Let us know, do you think Dave says fix it now? Use what info we have now, or shut it down. I think in principle, I understand that, but this is such a juggernaut that I don't know how quickly you could fix it now. I haven't heard what Thomas Massey's solution is. That if they start doing the budget fight now, they don't have time. See, this is what they've always do to each other. They don't give anybody time to fix it. They knew that a new Congress would not have time to come in and fix it between January and March. The budget process, again, usually starts in February, March, and it gets rectified by September. It's a 6 or 7 month process in theory and in tradition. And I think that's what they do. They never give each other time. They say, oh, we don't have time. Let's do the continuing resolution. And I totally hear you, Dave, and I don't disagree with you, but I can understand the perspective is, listen, if we fix this now, we're going to be in a debate for the longest time, and then we're going to have to do a continuing resolution to continue the fixes, even though we may need to fix more, but we'll have a government shutdown in October. And so what Johnson is saying, and again, never trust him, never trust any politician out there. You got to trust but verify. What Johnson is saying, let's pass this now, and just because we've got to turn the ship and we'll have more information, let's start this debate, and let's have a real serious debate as opposed to, because the government, I understand both points, I really do. What do you think? Fix, shut it down, or pass the CR? Jerry says shut it down. And now here's the other thing. Now, in theory, we all say shut it down, right? We all like this shut it down thing. But you have two things going on. You've got the political part of it, and you've got change that needs to be made. And so I mean, there's a lot of moving parts here, my friends. It's not as easy. Those of us in principle, I say shut it down. I say shut it down. Let's open the government 3 days a year for most part. I mean, I don't give a rat's patootie about it. It's open too much and there's too many people in it. But does the engine need to be running right now for Elon Musk to continue to do his stuff? I don't know. I understand the point. I am willing to understand that they set the trap. That's what the last Congress does. They set the trap and said, okay, we're going to keep this continuing resolution going because ain't no way in hell you're going to have the ability to pass a true budget in March when the new Congress goes in January. So this is them trying to kind of sync it back up. And I understand the part of syncing it back up. So far, I don't think anybody. Okay, Jim does say do the clean CR now and then start the 12 individual bills next week. That's Jim. That's kind of my thought. That's my thought. Do the clean CR. They're not adding anything. They're not screwing anything up. They're not tweaking it. They're just doing it. I understand that logic very quickly because if they shut it down, and it's going to take 6 months to get the 12 CRs, the 12 bills through, and the fallout, the ramification of having the government shut down for 6 months is probably not optimal for either party and probably not for President Trump, because if the government shut down, there's a lot of things that President Trump and his agenda can't proceed to fix. So I'm with Jim on this one. I think you have to do the clean CR. It was a trap. It was a setup. They set it back in September, October, knowing that nobody's going to be able to do a true budget. And that's what they do. They set the deadlines right in a time where you say, oh, well, shoot, we're a month out from election time. I guess we can't do it. We'll just do a CR. Oh, we're a month out. Now, if by chance they don't do the clean bills for all 12 sections of the budget by October, then I think we have right to be very angry. But so far it's 3-1 out there in the ratios if I'm watching the screen properly. Should the GOP, this is our question of the day, should the GOP pass the clean budget resolution and avoid the shutdown, or should they just let it shut down? And if they let it shut down on Friday, that sounds great, doesn't it? Government shutdown on Friday? What do you do? Or you either have to take the time, the 6 months to pass the proper budget, or you pass a continuing resolution. I mean, you've got it. Shutting down just doesn't functionally work. If you're saying shut it down until they pass the 12 resolutions, that takes months. That's why usually they're introduced right around the time of the State of the Union, and they're passed around September, October. You know, my old friend Tom Tancredo, this is how he became a national figure, ran for president one day, is because they would pass all 12 of these bills, these spending bills, and nobody cared. I mean, people would study them, but they would debate them and have to have so many hours of debate. It was called regular order. And Tancredo would go down to the well of the House and stand on a microphone late at night when the debate was, quote, still open, and he would enter in things into the congressional record, and C-SPAN would cover him live, and he would be him and a couple of clerks there because they had to keep the floor open for debate on each one of these 12 bills as they came up. And Tancredo would go down there, and when nobody else paying attention, everybody else is off at the bars drinking martinis, he'd go down there and start ranting and giving his talk about immigration and the border. And he became a national figure. His phone started lighting up, and he became a figure that was second place in Iowa the year that he ran. And he was only running to put immigration on the top of the off the lips of the nominee. He never was running to win. He was running to prove a point. But that's what they used to do. There was a debate that went on. So those of you saying shut it down, what do you do if it shuts down? There's the question. That's your question of the day. Do they pass the CR, and then we hold their feet to the fire to get their hearts right and their heads right by the month of October? Or if we shut it down, then what do you do? I don't know what the game plan is then, because you can't be working on the 2026 budget if you're still stuck on the 2025 budget. And what they should be working on right now is the 2026 budget. That's my thought. All right, let me play this. 1 week ago today, we were treated to a real joyful occasion. It's when we were first reintroduced to this lovely lady and all of her glorious beauty. I just show that photo just to make me laugh. Well, I played this yesterday at the end of the show, and I want to play it again because it is a reenactment. It's a reenactment. It is a reenactment of what happened last Tuesday at the joint address to Congress. And for your listening pleasure, it will be the voice of Donald J. Trump But these are actors, and no one was harmed in the filming of this little sketch here. But ladies and gentlemen, we got it from the TikTok. Here we go.
This is my fifth such speech to Congress.
Nancy.
And once again, I look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do. I could find a cure to the most devastating disease, a disease that would wipe out entire nations, or announce the answers to the greatest economy in history, or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels ever recorded.
Looks greasy.
And these people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. They won't do it, no matter what. Five times I've been up here. It's very sad, and it just shouldn't be this way. Who would say Pocahontas says yes?
It's pretty good. It takes you back in time to this right here. It's not a bad replica. It's not a bad replica. All right, good to have all of you here. The question of the day, my friends, is would you and should the Republicans vote yes? John P. Colo, a resident historian, said the Lakey Society for Greatness, I made that up. He says shutting down the government only gives Dems additional points in volume. There is a time that you shut it down, but I don't think this is the time. This was a trap, and what they're trying to trap you into doing is to pass all this budget now, get it in hoopla, and then by October, you have to do another continuing resolution. I think you just got to give yourself the runway and get it back and get the train back on the rails. Ray says, Jimmy, with that picture of that congresswoman, a man or woman, she's the reason for erectile dysfunction. Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. If you've been struggling in the area of ED, I'm not helping you, and I apologize for that. I really do apologize for that. Just be glad you don't have to wake up next to that every morning. Dave says, I wonder if they truly know how silly they look. I think they do. There are stories out there right now circulating that, out front in the public, they're, the Donald Trump hatred. But there's a lot of finger pointing. There's stories circulating out there in the internet, and those who know that there's text messages going to each other. Some people are blaming Hakeem Jeffries. Some of the more moderates are saying we have to get control of our party. It's just, matter of fact, there's this quote I saw. I took a photo of it on the television screen last night. Let me read the quote. It's Rahm Emanuel. There are some Democrats who get it. James Carville's an irrelevant asswipe, and he doesn't get it. He's out there. Donald Trump doesn't even love America. That's what James Carville. I mean, some of them are just saying stupid stuff. But Rahm Emanuel, who's a big advisor to Barry Hussein Obama, Rahm Emanuel is perplexed at the Democrats. They're doubling down on this trans agenda. They're just in absolutely chaos right now. There's a lot of bickering behind the scenes. Some people blame Hakeem Jeffries. Some people say we have the radicals of the party that are out there. I mean, what's her, Crockett is her name? Representative Crockett? It was her or one of the radicals that said illegal immigration is not a crime. And you're like, wait, illegal immigration is not. I mean, this is how crazy they become. And then they just put out weird videos, and they're so dumb they hold up signs at the State of the Union address or the speech last night. And it's like no one's giving them a reality check that's in charge. They don't know who's in charge. Rahm Emanuel, big advisor to Barack Obama, who some disagree, but he's not a dumb guy, and he's now seems like really reasonable. At the time, you thought he was crazy, but no, he seems really reasonable. You ready for this? Rahm Emanuel, his quote, he tells this to Axios, the problem with the Democrat Party. Some kids in the classroom are debating which pronouns apply, and the rest of the class doesn't know what a pronoun is. That's a crisis. What Emanuel is pointing out, my friends, is that the Democrats are trying to make this battle about pronouns and the schools and everything is going to be the pronouns of the LGBTQ and the trans, etc. And what America cares about is, do my kids know what a pronoun is in the public school? Emanuel speaking, he's a voice of reason in a world of Democrat insanity. And I'll tell you right now, you can count maybe on two fingers how many sane Democrats are actually elected in Washington, D.C. right now. Fetterman would probably be somebody that's coming across somewhat sane. I disagree on a lot of stuff, but he had come across as someone saying, can you name another one? I mean, I'm sure there are a couple of more. I know there were the 10 people that voted to censor Al Green, the congressman, but it is few and far between to find a reasonable Democrat that could think as logically and practically as Rahm Emanuel. Again, let this overlay every scene. He's talking about schools, but this is the problem. The Democrats on the wrong side of every issue. And Rahm Emanuel talking about schools. He says, listen, some kids in the classroom are debating which pronouns apply, and the rest of the class doesn't even know what a pronoun is. He says that's a crisis. And so in that crisis, where do the Democrats as a party, as a whole, as a body, where do they find themselves moving? They find themselves, who cares if they know what a pronoun is, as long as they know what their pronoun is and that they can be it and it. Emmanuel points out the crises here, and it's the same situation everywhere. Across the board, overlay that, and Emmanuel's speaking truth to idiots, and unfortunately there's more idiots than truth in the modern day Democrat Party. It's a party, some people say it's committing suicide. Some people say if they keep this up, they could become a minor party, and some people say they just seem to have a death wish. They're wandering around in the wilderness, and then what's it? Did you see all the montages coming out? They just like to curse. This F Trump thing, all of them saying F Trump in interviews and rallies. And Hakeem Jeffries did an interview it's on the Democrats' website or Twitter feed. And he says, we got those Republicans on the run. They're on the run. And he said on the run like it was a word salad. He said like 45 times in his speech, trying to motivate the troops. It's just not working for them. And they're rudderless. And one of the reasons they're rudderless is because they're focused on the wrong thing. America is focusing on leadership and say, hey, I want my kids to know what a pronoun is. I want my kids to learn reading, writing, and arithmetic. I want the balance to the budget to balance, just like my budget has to balance. I want just to be can we get kind of reset normal? And while we're trying to kind of reset what most people think is normal, Rahm Emanuel, again, some kids in the classroom are debating which pronouns apply, and the rest of the class doesn't know what a pronoun is. That is a crisis. All right, good to have you here. Jimmy Lakey is my name. It's a Tuesday edition of the program. Want to remind you real quick, if I could, that we have a couple of options for you on Patreon. One is a free option. You just go there free. We'll put some content up. A lot of times the shows end up there. Easy place to find all things Lakey is at patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey. In a little bit, not right now, we're going to play Shane Jenkins. It's a newest interview that dropped there. And it is there's the free subscription on Patreon, and then there's a paid subscription on Patreon. And the paid subscription on Patreon gives you all sorts of content. Another interview should be dropping there today, and I think you'll find it is about modern psychiatric care, modern self-help. We hear more about self-care than we've ever heard about in our lives, and yet it seems to be that we're more mentally unstable and unhinged than we've ever been as a culture. And we'll talk about some of that in this. It's not necessarily political. It's a very cultural topic I think you will enjoy. And that's at patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey, patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey, patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey. All right, let's do this. Let's go to Laura Carno. We know it's Carno Tuesday. Any of you who have followed me in the radio years, and I say years, 20-something years in Colorado radio, 10 years at the last gig. Laura Carno was with me almost every Tuesday for 10 years, at least 9 of them at least. And she very rarely took a day off because it was not allowed in her contract. She had to be there whether she was sneezing, coughing, tooting, or whatever she might have been doing. She had to be there. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know where I come up with this crap. It always happens right before Laura comes on. I say something that she would deem as incorrigible. Laura Carno, welcome in.
What do you do this to me for?
I don't know. It just happens. It just happens. Somehow I say the word toot right before you come on. I don't know what happened. I apologize.
So a couple weeks ago, I was missing. I had strep throat, which apparently, according to my doctor, there's a big epidemic of strep throat right now, and it usually only impacts kids, but lots of adults are getting it. So I don't know what's going on with that, but
now,
I couldn't talk.
You thought, because you were the leadership program in the Rockies down the Broadmoor Hotel, you thought that a certain former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, I wouldn't call his name on air, you thought he might have given you the cough that you had because you shook his hand, took a photo with him, and then he was hacking up on the stage.
Yes, the leadership program of the Rockies retreat, which is at the Broadmoor in Colorado Springs every February. Newt Gingrich was the keynote speaker. We did the photo lineup thing, and as you said, shook his hand. And later, as he's on stage, he's just hacking and coughing to the point where the Broadmoor staff, while the speaker was talking, they walked up on the stage. They brought a pot of tea with lemon and honey, and stood right by the podium, stirred it all up, put the honey in, squeezed the lemon, and Speaker Gingrich drank his hot lemon honey tea while he was speaking. But yes, I am not completely blaming Speaker Gingrich for my my strep throat, because I did shake hands and hug hundreds of people that weekend. So
Yeah.
it's funner to say it was Speaker Gingrich.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, strep throat's the kissing disease, right? That's what they call it.
No, that's mono.
Oh, that's mono. Because it would be bad to say you got the kissing disease from a former speaker. That'd be bad. So.
Yes, although when I did get strep throat and I blamed Newt Gingrich, my husband said, "Well, you shouldn't have kissed him," which, is classic husband material. So.
There you have it. Laura Carno is here. Don't forget to check out the website, fastercolorado.org. We will tell you more about that here in just a moment. Laura, real quick, are you on the voting pool of Thomas Massey, libertarian guy, saying, screw it, I ain't passing this continuing resolution? Or do you see the pragmatic thing of let's pass it now and then let's do a real budget by October?
I will say yes in both. So typically I say, shut it down. Most of it's not worth anything anyway, which Doge is digging into the things that are helpful and not helpful. But, and I typically would agree with what Thomas Massey is saying, but we have such a tiny little slim majority right now. And the key is for Donald Trump to still have majorities in both chambers of the legislature at the midterms. And you just can't lose a person. So I'm okay with the CR if and only if there is a plan that follows this to actually pass a budget. So let's see what happens there.
You mentioned the slim majority. There's all principle. All of us would like to, die on the hill, but sometimes there's hills you're like, I'd like to die here, but it's not a good thing. And there's practical and there's principle, and sometimes you have to reconcile the difference between the two. And I think that's where we're at. I love the practicality, the principle of dying on this hill, and kind of a Braveheart moment. But I also look at the practicality, the ramifications. You need the Congress to be working on other things right now to start passing some other things that Donald Trump's trying to get done, and they're just simply focused. I mean, they put themselves in a quandary. They haven't done a proper budget since the days of Bill Clinton, and it's going to take a little bit of time to unwind this little this ball of yarn.
Right. And, the midterms, I know we just had an election, but the midterms may as well be upon us today. Members of Congress on the House of Representatives side run every 2 years. So, you figure that the president, with the majority in both chambers of Congress, the president has a year to get his work done and prove to the American people that all of the things he's done are helpful, that it makes their lives better, and that it's. I'd love to hear the president say things in terms of it is faithful to the Constitution, what we're doing, as opposed to extra constitutional types of things that the government spends money on today. So he didn't have all that much time, which explains the pace of things. But that it bleeds over into what's going on in Congress, that to your point, they've got a lot of work to do. And if they spend a whole long time on a budget fight, CR versus pass a budget, that is going to take up all the time. They need to get the president's agenda passed through Congress so that it sticks and isn't just able to be undone by an executive action in some future administration.
Yeah, I mean, it's a landmine. They said they did this. When they put March as the deadline for the CR, the government shutdown, they knew that they're never going to be able to get something done between January and March because the Congress, the president's not in place. The Senate's working on a cabinet. I think you just got to go with the practical option here. But again, there has to be the plan moving forward that starting tomorrow, if they keep the government open, they're going to be working on those 12 resolution bills and get back to what we call the regular order. And if not, then Republicans will have hell to pay. But we elected Donald Trump. There's some agenda items that need to be codified. These executive orders, everybody kind of gets all sweaty and nice on them. They're like, oh, I love those. They make me vapors. They get all excited about those. But unfortunately, those are going to be undone in the future if we don't get those in law, and you need Congress focusing on those. So Laura Carno. Laura, speaking of midterms for America, in Colorado, that's going to be a big election. It is a gubernatorial race. Mark Baisley has jumped in the race in Colorado, I hear. Have you heard any other names that are going to jump in the governor's race here in the great state, the centennial state of Colorado?
It's interesting. I just saw a Facebook ad, so something that somebody paid for to be on Facebook, a guy whose name I hadn't heard before, who's running as an unaffiliated. So I find that very interesting just from a political standpoint. Unaffiliated voters are registered at a much higher level than either Democrats or Republicans. And so it's interesting that somebody appears to be trying to take advantage of that. But on the Republican side, I think we've only begun to see the number of people that are going to be getting in. And look, this is what primaries are about. And this is why vigorous debates and candidate forums and all this stuff are so important, so that Republicans throughout the state can take a look at all of these candidates and say, who do I want to be our standard bearer to go up against whoever's going to be, running on the Democrat side, which is an interesting show all on its own with Michael Bennett floating a trial balloon. Jimmy Lakey for governor is what Christopher says on Facebook.
Christopher's been drinking this morning, hasn't he? He ain't the only one. You're not the only one, Christopher. I haven't talked to this, as I'm just throwing this out there, not to start a rumor. Is Heidi interested in jumping back in and running again?
I don't know. I haven't heard her name as announcing, so I'm not sure. I haven't heard one way or another.
That'd be Heidi Ganal for those of you playing the home game. You're like, who's Heidi? Don't be talking like first names only. I love it when football announcers like, I was watching there and Troy really ran good down the field. I'm like, who's Troy? I don't know all these guys' names. So Heidi Ganal is who we're talking about. All right. That's by the way, if you would like to comment on any of the platforms, we're on all the Facebook pages. We're on Red Wave America, Media Equalizer, Jimmy Lakey fan page, Rumble, X, anywhere. If you want to comment, if you are in Colorado and have somebody that you would like besides myself, which I ain't happening, to run for governor, feel free to jump into the conversation and make your nominations, and maybe we can start the rumors here that they're going to run for governor. All right, Laura, our state legislature here in the state of Colorado is in session, and insanity continues to prevail there, and Senate Bill 3 is going to be heard today, and I want you to give into it. Senate Bill 3 in the state legislature.
Yes, no man's liberty or property is safe while the legislature is in session, and today that includes our gun rights. We've talked about Senate Bill 3 over the last number of weeks that the legislature's been in session. It has passed through the Senate. It moves to the House. So it will be up in the House Judiciary Committee today. There's actually a rally on the steps going on right now. I am not there because I am with you. But the House Judiciary Committee takes this up upon adjournment. And what that means is the House starts at 9 o'clock on the floor. They do some of their business. As soon as they adjourn, it goes over to the House Judiciary Committee. It is the only bill being heard in House Judiciary. As I was waiting to go on air with you, I was finishing the final touches on my emails to the committee members, saying why I'm opposed to Senate Bill 3, and folks can do that. All that information is available online. But it's very important, whether you're there and listening on your phone to Jimmy Lakey right now, or you're going to be able to listen online like I'm going to be doing today. It's really important that you communicate with the elected members of the legislature and say, you are opposed to these and why. We are polite, but we are firm. It is not their job to take away our ability to defend ourselves. And, when the Democrats like to talk about being pro-choice, I like to say that I am pro-choice on a woman's ability to choose her own self-defense. It's not up to the legislature to say you may only have a 6-shooter revolver, because that's the only thing we say that you can have. And it's not their job to say that you need to go through days worth of training and pay for days worth of training to be able to even own a firearm, because that affects, single moms in those really tough neighborhoods where they really need that self-defense. So that it's a big one. It is the worst thing to happen in the country from a gun rights standpoint.
Senate Bill 3 goes into the committee hearing today. The only thing on the docket upon adjournment, so sometime, depending how much business, sometimes probably before noon, I'm guessing they will be debating that. And if folks want to, people say, Laura, you can watch all this stuff online. First of all, what are you thinking, Laura? Why would you do that? But some people may say, I'd like to watch it. Where's the best place for the amateur out there that's not as involved as maybe you or I to kind of follow along with the bouncing ball?
Yeah, I'm super nerdy, so I do listen in on the legislature. So typically I listen at the Colorado legislature website, and it's a kind of a complicated website. So just go into your Google machine and put in Colorado legislature. It'll come right up, and then you want to click on the listen button, and it'll give you an option to pick the House or Senate floor, or to pick committees, and you'll go to House Judiciary and click on that. The other thing is Rally for Our Rights and We the Second, which is Leslie Hollywood's group. They often, I don't know if they're doing this today, but they often set a camera up in the hearing room so you can watch it as opposed to just see it or just listen to it. And so I'll look for that as well, because I like to see who's sitting at the table together, who's coming up, what is the look on the faces of the sponsors of the bill when they look completely annoyed that people who are just trying to defend their own rights are showing up and opposing their opinions.
Senate Bill 3, and of course, Laura's always active on the X, and you can just find her at Laura Carno, and she'll probably be giving you some information, tweeting out there as well. Laura Carno. All right, Laura, I have this story. You have the same story. Great minds think alike. It's very possible and I've said this, when the book is written about the Biden administration, he will not be remembered as a great president, probably a horrible president, but also this is going to be a historic lesson in basically, we're not sure the guy was all there. Who was really in charge? Joe Biden used the auto pen signature more than probably people knew, which means he didn't really sign the bills. We're not even sure if he looked at the bills.
Right. And there's a number of news stories out there on this that folks can go find and just Google auto pen, and you'll see a whole bunch of them to look through. So auto pen is basically an automated signature that a president can use to sign bills, to sign executive actions. We've seen Donald Trump in front of the news media sitting there signing with his big signature. So we know that the person signed those actions, but there were a lot of auto pen signatures that Joseph Biden signed. So what some of these folks have looked into, and there's one particular Twitter account, an oversight Twitter account that has looked into all of this, which is these articles are all linking to, so you can see the detail. But he's signed all of these auto pen signatures, and there are some differences between his signature and the auto pen signature. Auto pen is supposed to look like the signature, but there's some differences and that's what they're using to figure this out. They're also looking at where was he on the date and time that this auto pen was signed, because it's supposed to just be a substitute for the real thing. Well, if he was asleep on a beach while the auto pen was being signed, did he really approve that? And there's a number of us, you and I included, who asked this for the whole 4 years of his presidency, who is really running the White House. And this is Jim's asking about the pardons and commutations. Great question. Are they legal if he didn't actually approve them? But the one that kind of gets me, Jimmy, because I know that we were chatting about this at the time that it happened. When Biden said, "I'm getting out of the race," he decided not to run for president after all. There was no proof of life. And it was an out of pen signature. It looked like the out of pen signature. There was, he had flown home from Las Vegas. They said he was ill and he was resting. All of a sudden, this thing comes out on Twitter. There was no news conference. There was no him sitting in his hospital bed saying, hey, yeah, I'm getting out. Nothing. And many people, you and I included at the time, were saying, who just pushed the old man out the window? Yeah. Because it didn't seem like that was actually him.
It's going to be the stories that will come out, and the books will be written, but the stories that are going to come out on this are unbelievable. And I'll put up on if you follow me, I'll put on the Twitter, the X, and also on the Facebook. I'll put up some of the links to some of the stories. Fox News has it, The Blaze has it, but scratching our heads about these auto pen signatures. Laura, somebody posted, I'm not familiar with the name, Scott Bottoms, a GOP guy, has announced he's running for governor.
Yep, he's a state legislator out of Colorado Springs. He's announced. I would suspect that Greg Lopez, who filled the remainder of Ken Buck's congressional term, and has run for governor before, I suspect he would get in as well. I haven't heard one way or another, but I suspect he would. So yeah, I'm going to bet 8 to 10 people get in on the Republican side.
And I'm guessing Carno's not one of those.
Carno is definitely not one of them. Although a Carno Lakey ticket would be.
It could be powerful. It
would be powerful. Yeah.
It'd be stunning. It would be. They'd pull up the tapes and say she thinks he's incorrigible, and now she's acting like she likes him. So, but he's
well,
adorable.
You know what? We could deal with somebody who bucks the trends in the governor's office, because the state is really a mess. So.
It is a huge mess. If you're listening out of state, we warn you. There's Jared Polis, our governor, who's really done a lot of damage here the last 8 years, and Colorado needs to be made great again. The cost of living is crazy. Just so many areas he's screwed up, and please understand. When he portrays himself to be some kind of a moderate Democrat, he's
or a libertarian.
Libertarian. That's his big one. I'm a libertarian. Yeah, he's not a libertarian. Laura Carno, always a pleasure. I appreciate you hopping in here.
Thanks,
Carno
buddy.
Tuesday. FasterColorado.org is her website. FasterColorado.org, and that's what she does. She helps. Well, first of all, she sits around, geeks out, watches the state legislature in Colorado. She's one of a kind, but she also has FasterColorado.org, which actually goes into school districts and helps train staff there to be defenders of the school as needed, professionally train them if they need that. All right, we're going to have an audio interview with Allison Huynh. Allison is jumping in here in just a second, but before I do, I want to remind you about Corey Clinton, 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning. I'm drinking out of the mug if you're in the Colorado area, up and down that I-25 corridor, east, west, wherever, your large coverage area. 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning, and that's who takes care of my home air conditioning systems, HVAC systems. They've also put the ventilation in my cigar rooms. All of your needs, they can take care of you. The best in the business, in my opinion, best guarantees, warranties that you'll find out there. 1 Hour Heat and Air. I'm drinking out of the coffee mug here. Their name on it, 1hourheatandair.com/Jimmy Lakey is the website. You can also call them 855-1-HOUR. As warmer weather gets here, make sure you get the tune-up done, because you don't want that air conditioning breaking down on you the wrong time. So I always do a tune-up. I do a seasonal tune-up, maintenance check, they call it, right before the heat furnace comes on, right before the AC comes on. Just remember, if it breaks down or before it breaks down, make sure you give them a call. It's often cheaper to have them do a maintenance check than it is to have a big repair. So best guarantees, industry warranties you'll find, and also the most professional staff I think you'll find as well. It's 1hourheatandair.com/Jimmy Lakey, 855-1-HOUR, 855-1-HOUR. All right, I think she's stuck in traffic, and so I want to welcome in Allison Huynh. She's some Allo Ventures managing partner, and she's been let me make sure I have the right description. She's a former Democrat fundraiser and a Silicon Valley entrepreneur, and she joins me from traffic, I believe, in maybe California. Allison, welcome in.
Howdy from Austin, Texas. It's my childhood home. I do live and have lived in California for the last 30 years. I went to college there and, married my basically college sweetheart and stayed there ever since. But what you're describing in Colorado, I thought you were describing 8 years of living in California
Yeah.
with many of the very liberal policy, the governor who's saying that he's a centrist, he's a moderate, but turn out to have been very radical policies that have helped to kind of erode and destroy the beautiful golden state of California.
Yeah, our governor has a big case of Gavin Newsom envy. He wishes he could get by with some of the stuff Gavin Newsom gets by with, and he also wishes he has the hairline and the physique of Gavin Newsom. He's got a big case of Gavin Newsom envy, but that's a whole different story there. Give your background, Allison. It's just a former Obama-Biden fundraiser. Tell us why it's a former Biden-Obama fundraiser.
Yeah, so I grew up in a very conservative area. My dad is, very conservative, being from South Central Texas. And I never wanted to be part of my dad's Republican Party. I became a Trump supporter because I feel like it's a new political party. It's Trump's Republican Party. My dad fought in the Vietnam War with the Americans, flew with the U.S. Air Force, and that's how we came here. He's very anti-communist. He's very much like, Bush Cheney, like a war hawk type person. And I was always like a peace-loving hippie. That's why I went to college. I left, the town of Austin, San Antonio. And also when I was growing up here, it was just like a wasteland. It was really, like maybe 50, 100,000 people. I'm kind of blown away that there are 2.5 million people in Austin. There's so much heavy traffic. And I think our towns were really destroyed with NAFTA. Like many of my dad's friends growing up were laid off, and like I-35 was destroyed. The highway and the roads were destroyed because it's so close to Mexico. So you see all the factories, all the business going to Mexico. We didn't see any of the benefits when my sisters and brother grew up. And went to college and they graduated. They're much older than me. They couldn't get a job in the 90s. And so that's another reason why I left for California. I was just a liberal hippie kid and I was thinking, oh, it's going to be better. There's more jobs there. And then now I'm kind of like, going full circle, coming back and visiting my parents. And I see like, the growth here and what happened with some of these policies, liberal policies, and then also the policies of Bush Cheney and how it's affected America. So many of the things that I supported back in the, like 20, 30 years ago, they're considered far right policies today. But I'm still the same person. And many of the things that I'm supporting, anti-war, common sense middle class policies. Like I've always embraced these ideals. And I was considered a moderate, a left moderate back in the 90s and the 2000s. Now I'm considered a far right activist, on Fox, and like I'm a big supporter of Trump, always on Fox News. But it's just, I'm the same person, but it's a different label.
Allison Wynn, it is amazing. She's my guest, by the way. If you're just listening, that's good because she's in traffic and doesn't have the camera on, so it works out well. I always try to explain who's talking because not everybody's watching the show. Some people are just listening and pretending that they're working right now, and they have their AirPods in like they're listening to a TED Talk or something. But Allison Wynn is my guest, and we will give you full details on following her on Twitter in just a moment. Allison, you mentioned the Democrats used to be a party that touted, even back in the days of Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, they touted that they wanted fraud, waste, and abuse out of the government. Now the Democrats are saying we may shut down the government because we don't like DOJ finding this fraud, waste, and abuse. Talk about this strategy. If the Republicans can hold it together, they'll pass a continuing resolution. But Democrats are saying we're not going to stand with you. We don't be talking about any of these DOJ cuts, or we'll shut down the government this Friday.
Well, that was one of the selling points of Clinton and Obama. They came in saying, we're going to cut waste, fraud. They talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. The thing with POTUS 47, President Donald Trump. And this is why foreign leaders respect him. Whatever he says, he does. You see that in Trump 1.0. He says he's going to do this. He says that there's no wars. He says he's going to do a tax cut. He did a big tax cut for everyone, not just for the rich, but also the working class, middle class. Middle class people did better under Trump than Biden. That is a fact. We had no wars under Trump. That is a fact. Facts don't lie. So whatever he says, he does. And so he says, oh, we're going to cut the fraud, the abuse, the waste. That's what he's doing. He has the moral leadership, and now he has Elon Musk with the IT, the technical skills to implement it. I don't agree with everything Elon is doing. I think 80% I'm in agreement with. He can be very aggressive. And I actually went on vacation with Elon, coincidentally, years ago with my daughter and my husband at that time. I think he's a great person. He lacks empathy. He even says so himself. Like, he's always retweeting Autism Capital. It's one of like his favorite Twitter X accounts to retweet. So we know, and he admits he's on the spectrum. What we do need is perhaps a customer service czar. This administration is going so fast and they're doing a great job. There's $2 trillion of foreign direct investments into the United States, creating millions and millions of jobs. And we see that already. There's 150,000 new jobs just like in the past few months, right, with Trump in office. So don't believe everything you hear on the news, doom, gloom, recession. The economy is doing great. Yes, there can be like slight ups and downs because we're getting adjustments and we're turning things upside down with POTUS and Elon, but I just implore people to hang in there. And, you know, like anything new, we have to get used to it, but we have the right people there. There needs to be minor adjustment. My idea is customer service czar. And I think, you know, Elon is brilliant. POTUS is brilliant, a great moral leader, but he can't do everything. If we have something to make, you know, some of the Elon ideas and policies a little bit smoother and focus on regular, normal people, not just the violent criminals, the immigrants, and all the people causing problems, that would be fantastic.
It's the voice of Allison Wynn. She's a renowned American computer scientist, Silicon Valley entrepreneur, ALO Ventures LLC, ALO. I'm going to make sure I say that correctly. But she's a former Democrat fundraiser, and she's behind the Trump movement at this point, and says, yeah, Donald Trump's the right guy for the right time. It's funny to watch the Democrats double down on the hatred of Donald Trump, the Trump derangement syndrome, orange man bad, however they phrase it. Even watching a week ago, their actions at that joint session of Congress, it seems like it's like they're tipping their hand rather than coming along, people like Elizabeth Warren coming along and saying, yeah, we'll help you find it. And that way they can maybe help steer the cart a little bit. They're just putting their heels in the ground. It's almost like they're trying to cover up. They don't want Doge to find certain things. What do you think of that, Allison? Are they doth protest too much, to quote some Shakespeare?
The lady doth protest too much. If you're referring to Pocahontas, you know, that is a very good insight. We didn't know like the depths of waste, fraud, and abuse, especially with USAID. Jimmy, did you realize? I mean, we knew that there was something wrong. You know, there's something rotten in Denmark. There's something rotten in DC. That's another quote from Hamlet, you know, Lady Macbeth. You know, that's another Shakespearean quote that's very apropos the last couple of months. Like, I mean, we can't even imagine, you know. I can't wait to see what they uncover. So I totally agree with you on that. And it's like, you know, all the conspiracy theories have proven to be correct. I'm a big advocate for like normal middle class people. And as you know, I did substitute teaching when my son was a bit younger, just to be like in the school, in the classroom with him. What I noticed as a teacher is that, you know, the resource in a classroom classroom would go all to the problem kids or like the really like smart kids. And the normal kids in a classroom didn't get any attention and resources. So you see that in this administration. And I would advocate for us to like focus a little bit more and give resources like the customer service czar. And you see that like, and it's not really Trump or Elon's problem because they inherited this. There were
Yeah.
so many problems, open borders, open sanctuary. So we have to have like a border czar. We have to take care of like the mess in Ukraine. What about, this whole mess and, with Iran? We were basically like starving them financially. They didn't have the firepower. And then now they have like billions of dollars a year because like Biden like open up the sanctions. And so they're the ones behind the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, right? And so this is causing like a huge crisis in the Middle East, of course, like with Ukraine and Russia, the way that Biden has been, he's encouraging and, they're making money off of it, right? It's kind of like all like what we're learning is that this is all like a grift. So I get it, like how noble it is to go in there and cut everything and like, clean up shop. But I would really implore that we like spend some resources on normal middle class people and to give us like, good customer service, not cut too many people at the national parks, not to cut too many people at the airport, because for those of us not flying private jets, just make lives easier for middle class people. And I know Trump really focused on that in Trump 1.0. Middle class people did better under Trump than Biden and Obama as well.
Yeah. One more quick question. Allison Witt is my guest, and we'll give you information on how you can follow her and what she's up to. But Allison, I think back to Elon, then we mentioned Pocahontas. It's fascinating that Elon has tweeted out, he commented on Joe Rogan, etc., that how people in Congress that literally have been maybe a college professor and maybe they, made couple of $100,000 a year, suddenly have double-digit in the $1 million in their bank account, and he's hinting and tweeting that maybe these should be looked at. That maybe could tell us why exactly it is that they're protesting so much. Stacey Abrams out of Georgia, she just kind of an average woman, and then she ends up with $100 billion for an organization that's supposedly supporting green new energy, and I'm guessing she has a nice salary now. A lot of these people that are, quote, public servants that are protesting suddenly have become multi-millionaires off of real pretty average or pretty good salary, but not that big a salary.
It's very suspicious, Jimmy. It's the grift, right? And we don't know exactly, we need like a whole movie, like The Big Short or something to kind of explain like the cycle and like, I need like an org chart, like with like arrows and all these rectangles. How does this money get to here? How come like you're a public servant? How come like your daughter, you're spending $3 million for your daughter's wedding? How come your daughter, who I actually like went to school with Chelsea Clinton, and I'm an entrepreneur, early Googler, worked, in tech and then became a stay-at-home mom. My husband and I were self-made people, and like, how come like Chelsea, I don't think she really worked a day in her life other than like her parents' nonprofit. How come like she's able to buy a $12 million home? Like, how do you trace all this? How is Bernie Sanders, who is always like complaining about the millionaires and billionaires, how is he like a millionaire? How is Pocahontas worth, is she worth like $60 million?
Yeah.
Nancy Pelosi as well. I mean, you're a public servant. I think you're making like at most $250,000 a year. How are you making millions of dollars, right? And then people who are running nonprofits like Stacey Abrams, how come like you're getting funded $100 billion? What's your salary? How is this connected to the government, waste and fraud, federal treasuries, and these numbers are just like dizzying.
Crazy.
Like I just don't like $8 million for transgender mice studies, $100 million for condoms in Gaza and the Hamas. I was like, there's only 1.5 million people living in Gaza, and how many of them are men who are sexually active? Like, nothing makes sense to me. Up is down, down is up. Everything's like inside out. It's
Yeah.
like, we're being gaslit, and we've been gaslit for so long. I think it's brilliant that like this administration, let's look at the numbers, let's look at the facts, let's put everything in a spreadsheet. And I have to say, yes, Elon is the spreadsheet czar, and he's doing a fantastic.
Oh, we might have lost your connection there, Allison. You might have finally. Allison, are you there? I think we lost connection with Allison. Allison Huynh. You got to follow her. She's next time we'll get her video to work. I think we might have lost connection here. But she's born Vietnamese family, and of course you heard her story. Central Texas didn't want to be part of her father's political party, and now she's became stay-at-home mom, but did very well in the Silicon Valley. Allison, one more chance. Did you connect again?
Yes, I'm back. We're in downtown Austin with like it's festival season, South by Southwest.
Oh, well,
So-
yeah. I used to be in the music industry, and South by Southwest was the one thing that I always wanted to get my bands in, and that's always fun. And I'm a University of Texas guy, so hook 'em horns. That's all I can tell.
Oh yeah, hook 'em horns. Oh, great.
Allison, you were talking about the nonprofits. I laugh all the time. I tell people I started a nonprofit. I run a nonprofit. If you can see the screen behind us, use my nonprofit. I'm like, shoot! If I would have known that there was billions of dollars being given away for USAID, we just build schools in Rwanda and Africa. Shoot! If I would have known that we could have. Also said part of our mission is giving out condoms to Hamas. We could do that as well, and we could get billions of dollars. I just had to add something to our mission. It's bizarre. They gave nonprofits a bad name.
It's really amazing, and I don't know if it's a nonprofit. I think I hate to say it, I don't want to accuse anyone of anything, but dare I say money laundering.
Yeah, that's what it is. And Stacey Abrams did form that NGO nonprofit, but however the money's going and it's not being held accountable, and hopefully that will happen real soon.
Yeah, facts don't lie, numbers don't lie. You just look at Elon's spreadsheet and then, make your own determination. And that's what I love about this administration. It forces us to use critical thinking skills instead of the propaganda and the gaslighting. Let's just look at the numbers. Let's ask these questions. These numbers don't make sense. Why are we giving $100 million in condoms to Hamas? I mean, how many, let's do the calculation. How many condoms are they using a day? I mean, just at the top of my head, I think that's like 10 or 20 condoms a day, if you're buying condoms at wholesale. So if they're having, that much intimate time, do they have time to fight? Are they really that violent? Aren't you a lover instead of a fighter? Isn't that what Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson said? I don't know. I'm like a stay-at-home mom turned investor lately. It just doesn't make sense to me.
I'm thinking the women and children fled, so I don't know what the men are doing with the condoms. I don't know what's happening in those foxholes, but maybe we don't want to know. Don't ask, don't tell, Allison. Don't ask, don't tell. Allison Huynh, if folks want to follow along with what you do and get to know you a little bit more, where do they find you?
On X, Twitter, at Allie Huynh.
You got Allison, your phone's breaking up, but Allie Huynh, and you can see the spelling Huynh. We'll have you back on and appreciate it, and say hello to the folks in Austin, and go eat some Whataburger today, if you would, just for me, because I would appreciate that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, glad to have you here. Producer Chad just messaged me on another device and said the studio he's in, because we're not always in the same studio, his internet just went down. So producer Chad has disappeared from the program, but that's okay. It's about time to wrap it up anyway. But producer Chad is the one that runs the meme machine. machine. And we don't have a meme machine today because producer Chad's internet at his studio has just crashed and burned. And he says the whole area of his is out of internet. So we may not have meme roulette here this morning. And I apologize for that. It may disappoint you. But we do have an opportunity to talk about Sherry Cree, my great good friend and a realtor here on the program. One of our great sponsors. March is a great time to get your home listed. If you're ready to go and you think you are, call Sherry. Early listings right now. The inventory is low right now. Inventory is always low, January, February, March. And so people are looking for the right house to pop on the market, and your house may be the right house. So if you think you're ready to go, Sherry Cree can kind of give you some advice and some insight and get you up on the market, because now is a great time to be a seller because inventory is low. March is also a great time if you're not ready to sell right now, but you're thinking about selling in the future or buying in the future. March is a great time to start that process. Sit down with Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com. And when you sit down, she's going to have just a conversation, find out what you're looking for, find out what you want to accomplish. She's a white glove service realtor. I mean, from top to bottom, she's going to make sure that your home is ready to go, and you know all the things that need to happen. And March is a great time to get your home listed. And it's also a great time to start preparing if you're going to list it in the coming months. And also, by the way, if you're one of those people right now looking for a house and you just want someone to kind of keep an eye out, again, inventory is low, but have that strategy session with Sherry, and she can keep an eye out for what you're looking for. Homeswithsherry.com. Now, she covers the entire I-25 corridor, the metro corridor. So if you're in Castle Rock, Denver, if you're up in Fort Collins, down in Denver, out in Boulder, maybe you're out a little bit east, Aurora, listen, she can help you, and she is an expert in making sure that she believes in looking at it like this, that your real estate transactions, whether it's your first condo or your first single home family home, whether it's a 2-car garage, 4-car garage, maybe you have a palatial estate, that your real estate transactions can and should help you build generational wealth. You just got to play it right. Homeswithsherry.com, 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 and make sure you tell her that it's Jimmy Lakey who told you to be in touch. Homeswithsherry.com. Somebody messaged me over there and said, why is it say on the phone with Allison Wynn? Because producer Chad controls all that, and I think we can fix that there. And he controls all that, and his internet went down at his studio. By the way, let me put that. That's Allison Wynn's Twitter account, and I'm going to follow her on the X as well. Allie Wynn, Huynh. Do that. All right, back again. Homeswithsherry.com. Reach out to her, and no pressure, no obligation. But don't forget also, her real focus is giving back. She donates a portion of her compensation to the charity of your choice. She also, her consultation strategy is sit down and know your dreams, your goals, and she has a strict policy not to take on clients if she doesn't think you're going to be her best agent. So she may not even want you. No, she'd love to have you, but she wants to make sure you find the right place. And by the way, if you're a military veteran, first responder, whatever the case may be, she also focuses on you, and she reduces her compensation take to give you a better deal. Homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com. All right, good to have you all here on the program. Producer Chad controls the meme machine, and his internet has crashed out there. And because his meme machine has crashed, that means we will not have the meme roulette, but that's okay. We will have more memes tomorrow than ever before, because you know why? Because the memes didn't go up today. I'll play a couple of more videos. I want to play DJ Daniel if you miss this again. This is a classic one, but look there on the screen. You see what just popped up? I did that myself. I'm very talented. It says, donate to Rivers Promise, my charity. Want to remind you, I got a wonderful check in the mail from somebody. I forgot the name. I would call his first name. I wouldn't call his last name. That's privacy issues. But from Loveland, Colorado, sent a check in the mail to our P.O. box. You can find it on the website at riverspromise.org. And he sent a check in the mail for $30. And you know what he did with that $30? He's with that $30, he's making sure that a child in Rwanda that we take care of, that is on our sponsorship program. Maybe they're not sponsored, but we can still feed them. Maybe we provides $30, provides 2 meals a day for 30 days. And this check came in the mail. So that's an option as well. Go to our new website, riverspromise.org, riverspromise.org. You can see the architectural renderings and some actual photos of phase 1 of Legacy Christian Academy. You can read the story behind Rivers Promise and why I talk about it so much. And if you don't know the story about it, you can go check that out. And you can even donate there. And also, you can also see there's a tab for events. And go to the events page. We have an upcoming event in Colorado, May the 17th. At the Omni Broomfield Resort in Interlochen, Broomfield, Colorado. And that's going to be a great event. It's a casino gala. And that's going to be a lot of fun, live entertainment, live music, and food, and open cash bar. So it's going to be a good night. And it's all raising money for our work in Rwanda. Go check out our website, riverspromise.org, riverspromise.org. And remember, $30 feeds a child for 1 month. For 2 meals a day, not just feeds them for a month, but like 2 meals a day, not just once a day, 2 meals. And if you add $35 to that, you $65, you're going to provide the food, and that sends a kid to school. So if you want to mail us a check, the address is on the website, and we'd love to have you participate, but you can also donate via the credit card. You sure can. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to have you here. We were going to play a little bit of the snippet of Shane Jenkins' interview that's on Patreon, but producer Chad is he's out of commission right now. Later this week, programming note, I'll be doing the show, good Lord willing, from the creeks don't rise. I'll be doing the show for several days in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I've done that before, and I'll be doing it again, going down to deal with some family things back in the motherland. So I'll be in Dallas later this week. Tomorrow I should be back here in this studio. And then for several days, I'll be doing the program from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I say that only because I told Allison Wynn to eat some Whataburger for me. And now I have to tell you that I'm going to be having Whataburger, maybe breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the next several days later this week. All right, one more quick note, if I may. I'm doing the math in my head, and I'm going to have to get my mind off this matter. Allison was talking about the condoms for Hamas, and then she starts talking about the entire population, how many condoms. It makes you wonder what they are doing on those foxholes over there, right? Makes you wonder. Or goats. I sheep. There's a lot of condoms over there. Yeah, Allison started the conversation. I'm just now, my brain's going in the exact wrong way. All right, ladies and gentlemen, again, we're skipping the meme roulette today because producer Chad controls the meme wheel, and his internet at his studio, remote studio, went away. We're not always in the same studio together, and today we were not, and his internet crashed, and so therefore we have no meme roulette. I know that disappoints you. Let me play this one as well. Let's just one more fun one here for you. Oh, hold the music there. Delilah, stop the music there. Okay, here we go. Watch this.
Because I'm a Secret Service now. And if you touch me, you going to juvenile straight out. And I ain't got to ask your parents for nothing. I'm sending you straight to jail.
So that's a warning to all of you out there. DJ Daniel says if you bully him, you touch him, he'll send you to juvenile. He ain't going to ask your parents for nothing. They F around and find out. They gave the wrong kid the badge there, my friend. You don't mess around now. And that's how I feel. F around and find I just wanted to play that one more time. There's no reason. I just wanted to play it again. You're going to jail. They can ask your parents for nothing. F around and find out. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Sorry about the meme roulette. We'll pick up the pace tomorrow. If you'd like to be a sponsor on the program, be a part of the show more intimately, and that's not dirty. I'm just saying you want to learn about sponsorship of the program, and we push your business. info@jimmylakey.com. Just send us an email, info@jimmylakey.com. And also, my friends, thanks again to homeswithsherry.com, Sherry Creek, Corey Clinton, 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning. And a big shout out to our longtime friends, Lehman Lewis Financial Group, lehmanlewis.com. Hey, everybody, God bless all of you. God bless America. I am Jimmy Lakey. We'll see you tomorrow. And producer Chad will have the hamsters running his internet again, and it'll get all better. Until we meet again, God bless. I'm out of here. Peace.